Hi everyone, Evan Alexander here with another Cinema4d tutorial. Last week we did volumetric lights and that was great. It was a lot of fun. And I got an email from my buddy Keith who said, okay, so now how do we make the crowds? We want to know how to make the crowds. And I actually covered this in the cloner and instance video, but it's way at the end and Keith said that wasn't good enough. It deserved its own standalone tutorial. So let's take a look. We're going to start here in Cinema4d with this guy. Pretty creepy, isn't he? Whoa, look at this guy. Now, this character was made in Fuse, Adobe Fuse, which sadly is no longer with us. Thanks, Adobe. He's insanely low res, but that's okay because we're only going to see him from behind and it's going to be very dark. But Fuse is no longer a thing. So that's a bit of a bummer. So if you want to make people, you have a few different options here. There's Daz Studio, which is free, which will give you some kind of basic people. I think they give you the software for free, but then they want to sell you, clothes and hair and morphs, and I don't know what goes on with this software, and I kind of don't want to know what people do late at night with human beings software, but it's definitely an option, and you sure can't beat the price. So check it out, daz3d.com. There is also from Real Illusion, there's a software called Character Creator 3. Now, I have not used this, but it looks pretty tasty. And I think if I were to go back, my next step if I needed some kind of base people, unposed would be to probably check out this piece of software here. So there's some options for you. Scour the inner tubes and the interwebs. You could probably find some free people out there. You could probably buy some people out there. You're looking for these kind of neutral poses. And this is an A pose, or some people are in a T pose where the arms are kind of straight out. That's what we're looking for. Just like our guy here, FuseMan01. Okay. So now let's get into posing. So the way that I like to do this is fast and easy. I'm going to use Mixamo. So Mixamo is this cool software that was, of course, bought by Adobe. And then they, stopped adding new content to it. Thanks, guys. But this is basically a collection of motion capture where are we here? We're on the character tab. Here's the animation tab. Motion capture files with all kinds of, fighting, dancing, anything you can think of. Shooting, dodging, soccer. Here's, if you want to recreate Michael Jackson's Thriller, we've got you covered, people. So you need an Adobe membership, a CC license to use this. Sorry to say, nothing is free. So what do? So we upload a character, and so now I'm going to take the OBJ here of FuseMan1 here, and you could do FBX OBJ or even a zipped up file. We're just going to drop this on here and shoot it up to the Adobe servers somewhere in a bunker underneath Mount Rainier maybe, and it will process for a moment, and then if all goes well, we should see our guy. There he is. Now, if your character comes in, backwards or upside down or sideways, you can come in here and adjust. So you want him or her facing forward. Here we have a T pose. That looks good. And so let's say next. So now what they're asking for, they're going to create a skeleton for us because they're so cool. And but we need to tell them kind of where the major points are. So the chin. So we're going to grab the chin here, and we'll just nice. It gives you a little X-ray or a little zoomed in view here. We'll drop this right on the chin. Now it's looking for the wrists. I have symmetry turned on, so it's going to do both sides here for one. Wrists, elbows. A little hard to tell where the elbows are in this kind of marshmallow puffy shirt, but let's say those are the elbows. Now we need the knees. And then last but not least, the groin. And there we go. So that looks pretty good. And we'll say next and take him for a spin. And so now the elves at Adobe are, making a skeleton for this guy for us. And it'll take a second here. If all goes well, in a minute, we should see him kind of moving around in space. So we'll wait while the server does its thing. I always wonder what's actually happening at this point in the process over there. Oh, here we go. And there you go. So this is just a check and review. Make sure that you set your major points in the right spot here. So let's see. This looks pretty good, right? I mean, you would know if the leg was sticking out sideways or, the head was upside down or something, you would have trouble. So let's say next. And so, all right, so now we've got our character kind of loaded in. And so now all you have to do here is just, pick a pose that you like and it'll apply the mocap to it. So let's type in cheer. And you don't have to use cheering stuff. I mean, you can use fighting stuff. We're going to basically stop this. Here, let's grab rallying here. This looks pretty good. Ultimately, in Cinema, we're going to stop it, where we want it and kind of scrub through. And then we're going to kind of freeze the character in. So it doesn't, really matter what's happening here. We're going to, and it's good because you might be able to even grab a few different, posed people from one little animation here. So that's cool. We're just going to grab the whole thing. So now let's say download. We're done in Mixamo. We definitely want it to be FBX, and we definitely want it with skin, 30 frames a second. Sounds good. Keyframe reduction, none. Don't even know what that is. We're going to hit download, and we'll pull this guy down here. So sure, we'll call this rallying and save it. And once this is pulled down, thanks Adobe, we're out of here. Let's come back into Cinema here. And here, we'll make a new scene. I was just using this to show you that guy. We don't need him anymore. We have a new blank scene. And so let's find here, where are we here? Let's find where we saved this to. Here we go, rallying FBX. So I'm just going to take this. I'm literally just going to drag and drop this into a fresh scene. All the default stuff here should be good for you. The one thing that you want to change and make sure is going on here is that your up axis here is Y, right? That's what it is in Cinema. And so we're going to say Y, okay. We're going to say okay. And here we go. So now our character is loaded in. And you can see the skeleton here. It still has all its parts, its eyes and hair and shoes and all that good stuff. And if we hit play on the timeline here, you'll see that what's going to happen is, it's going to play our guy. Yeah. So definitely rallying. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to scrub through the timeline. And let's find one that we really like here. So do we like the double arm? Maybe we like the single little fist pump action. Yeah. There it is. That looks great. The head is completely sideways, but doesn't matter. That's all right. Well, maybe it does matter. It's going to be a little weird. You can see that, you can get obsessive about this. Here, that's all right. That's good. There, right? We can see him from behind. He looks like he's jacked and he's pumped. So that's great. So here's all the parts and pieces for him, including the skeleton. We're going to grab those, and I'm just going to group them. So I'm going to say Alt-G, and I'm just going to put him into a null. And now we're going to right-click on this, and we're going to choose Current State to Object. And when we do that, it's going to create yet another null. That first one, we can turn this off. We don't need it anymore. And here's the second null. Now, it looks like nothing has changed. However, it has actually broken all the body parts apart in the posed position. And the skeleton's still there, but honestly, we don't even need it and we don't even want it. So now if you want to, at this point, you could texture this person. You could, go through, Fuse made me a JPEG, for, the whole thing UV unwrapped with like clothing and skin. We're not going to get into that for this tutorial, but just know if you want to do it, now is the time to do it. If you're not going to texture him, if you're just going to do what we're going to do, which is throw like one generic texture on him, we can actually combine all these things together. So I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to choose Connect Objects and Delete. So this is just like, it's going to just merge him into one character, into one object. There we go. Sorry, I'm typing and talking at the same time. So here we go. Right, so here he is. Here's our picture guy. You could now come back here and, scrub through to like that, and then do the same thing. Right click and say current state to object, make yet another null, and, get rid of this. And then, here you go. You've got, two, they may look the same from the back, but, with 40,000 people in there, you may not even be able to tell. So, all right, let's get rid of that. So cheer. So this is what we want. And so here we go. So I just do that with multiple characters. At this point, I've built a library of cheering people in different poses. But that's how you do it. So now that we've got this, let's put this onto our clipboard. Let's jump over here. We've got a little scene set up here. I turned off the venue so we could see better, but here's our stage, and got some barricade and some lights and speakers, and it all looks great. Here's the floor. So now we want to basically fill this place up with a crowd, right? So how do we do that? Let's go ahead and we'll paste our cheer guy in. So here he is. It's a concert for one. Yes, there he is. All right, so this is going to be a cloner operation. So the first thing we need to do, though, is we need to make some kind of polygon here that's going to represent the area of the floor that we want covered with audience, right? So we need basically a polygon. It's going to be a big, massive n-gon, actually, but that's okay. So let's jump over here to top view. Right now, assuming if I had an actual venue in here, there would be, a back wall or a banquette or something. So today we're just going to pretend. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to come and grab the Polygon Pen Tool. I love this tool. I'm going to switch over to point mode. And so I'm in Polygon Pen Tool here. I'm in points mode. There's edges and polygon mode. We want to be in points mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to just start clicking here, and we're going to draw out a big polygon. Now, it's going to get a little weird here because it's kind of overlapping itself, but that's okay. That will kind of correct itself here. So I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm just clicking. Let's say the back of the house is here. Maybe it kind of cones over. And I'm going to double click here to finish this. And so now what I've done is I've created this polygon. We'll call this audience guide. We can clean this up a little bit while we're here. I'm still in point mode here. So maybe I'll grab the rectangle selection tool. Let's grab all of these. If I shift over to the scale tool and scale to 0%, it's going to actually level all of these up, right? It's kind of a weird idea, but you can use scaling. I'm just holding shift to lock into 10-degree increments, and I'm just going to slide to 0. That's going to make sure that these are nice and level. Let's say these two. Let's go ahead. Obviously, conform this to the shape that you actually want and need for your venue, But the beautiful thing about this is that you can change this later, you can add to it, you can take away. Now we're a little kind of sloppy here. Let's just clean up. Now I would say here while I'm doing this, here's our barricade. You want to be close to the barricade. You don't want to be like right up on the barricade because it will sometimes drop figures kind of right on the edge of this, and then they would be, kind of overlapping. So you want to be a little bit, you want to be a little bit kind of, off of this. We'll go back. We can always kind of pull it in, a little closer here. So better too far than too close. Let's grab these. I'm being kind of overly persnickety about this. I can't help it. It's my mother's fault. And all right, so great. And let's flip back here to perspective and see like what the heck's going on. Well, we have this thing. Oh, it looks like it's floating up in the air. That's not helpful for us. Let's go back to model mode here. Come to our, let's see here. Let's center this up. Yeah, it's 10 feet in the air. So let's zero this out so it's sitting on our floor. We're not going to see this, so it doesn't really matter. It looks kind of fugly here, but that is okay. So, all right. So now, so that's our guide. That's going to be what defines the space of our audience. And like I say, if it's too much, you know, come in here. Here, we'll shrink this up for now just to make things a little bit easier on the computer for the tutorial. Great. Okay, so let's grab our dude here, Cheer01, and we need to put this guy into a cloner. So I'm going to add a cloner. And when we add him in, he should grid clone out for us. If you haven't watched the tutorial on instances and cloners, now would be a great time to do that. This will explain what I'm doing here. So now we have this. So we want to come back to the cloner. We're going to set this to render instances to make things a little bit easier on the old computer. And what else? We need to change this now from grid mode to object mode, right? And everything disappears because now it's looking for an object. And our object is going to be the audience guide. So let's drop this in. And you end up with a bunch of corpses. Isn't that super creepy? Okay. So here's what we can do, right? We can come to the cloner. We're going to switch over to the transform tag. And we just need to play around with these whole pitch and bank. We need to find which one of these. Oh, I got it right on the first guess here. It was pitch. Let's set this to -90. Whoops. Let's try that again. Let's set this to -90. There we go. And well, it kind of looks like the zombie apocalypse, doesn't it? This guy's really weird. It's like the fist pump from hell. All right, so now what's happening here is that it's cloning in object mode using the audience guide as its guide, I guess, as its object. And our distribution is set to surface. So, right, it's distributing this all along the surface of the object guide. At this point, I can turn the object guide off. We don't need it anymore. I mean, we need it in the scene, but we don't need to see it, and we don't need to render it. So it won't screw up. You know, if you have a concrete texture on the floor or black marley or something, this won't get in the way of that. So we can still turn it back on and change it later, and we'll do that. So so now it's by default we've got 20 people here kind of spread out. Let's just up this for now to like 200. So that's pretty good. So, you know, and you would go a lot more obviously to kind of fill in the crowd here. The problem is that these dudes, they're looking good, right? They're facing the band, they're pumped up, they're having a good time. These people are facing the wrong direction. We also have some really bizarro overlapping going on here. So these guys are doing okay. We need to get everybody kind of looking in the right way, in the same direction. So how are we going to do that? Okay, we're going to go back to our cloner. We're going to come up to the MoGraph menu under Effectors here. And what we're looking for is a target effector. Okay, you want to make sure that you have your cloner selected and before you come up here. And then this way it'll automatically apply the effector to the cloner. So I'm going to say target. And so now you can see when we did that, everybody kind of lurched a little bit. Oh, everybody's facing the wrong way now. Yeah, cool. All right, so we've told it target, and now it's looking for a target object. We don't have a target object. So let's make one. I'm just going to make a new null. A null is like a folder, or I guess you could say It's a coordinates in space. If you use Vectorworks, it's like a locus, right? So it's a point in space, but it's not actual like geometry, right? And so here it is. I'm going to put it right up on the stage or right in front of the singer. So going back to the target effector, the target effector is looking for a target object. So let's drag and drop our target null right into here. And when we do that, everybody lurches forward in a weird way, and they're backwards. So what's going on? So first things first, the lurch, right? Why did this happen? Because if I move this up, you can see that what it's doing is it's trying to make sure that our people are always facing our target, right? And that's not helpful for us because people stand straight up and down. I mean, unless they've really been drinking. But we're going to assume that they're, responsibly enjoying the concert. So what we need to do is come back to the target, and there's this little checkbox here that says use pitch. We don't want to pitch. So let's uncheck that, and everybody will straighten out. Now, and this always happens, and I don't really know why, everybody is always facing backwards. And so I guess that's because Z is in like negative Z. So there's a handy button here called reverse heading. So the minute I click this, hey, look at that. Everybody is now facing the right direction, right? Here's our target, and you can see everybody is facing. So this is great because, if you are trying to render a moment where, your star has come down here, that's fine. And if they're over here, maybe you have a B stage kind of out in the house, right? So you can play around with this, and put it wherever you kind of need focus. So that's great. We love that. Now, the only problem with this is that, there's two problems here. One, everybody is exactly the same. And even because of that, they're, besides that, they're still all kind of aligned exactly the same. So let's do a few things here. So what I would do at this point is I would add more people, right? I just happen to have here a bunch of other audience members kind of hidden in here. Here, let's see here. I'll show you. Fly it up here. So yeah, here we go. We've got some other fine citizens here who are cheering and clapping and, generally loving the high life here. I'm going to take all of these people and I'm going to just drag them into the cloner with this cheer 01 guy. And what that's going to do now is that is going to just kind of randomly start to distribute here. Maybe I can show you this. Maybe hidden line would be a little bit better. This is going to start to randomly distribute these now, like 8 people or so. They just have like a basic gray texture on them. And so there you go. Now you're looking pretty good here. So, we would definitely want to up the numbers. Don't be afraid of big numbers. Let's say like 2,000. I mean, be afraid of big numbers if you have a very small computer. But, experiment with this a little bit and kind of see. And now you can see here, now look at this. Yes. I mean, there's a lot of hands in the air here. So, but that looks pretty cool. And so now I'm going to go in here and so we've got this all kind of set up. I'm going to grab the cloner, the target effector, the target, and the audience guide, and I'm going to Alt-G these into their own null. So I've got the whole audience in one kind of folder. And that way I can, when I'm working on the set and I don't want to see them, I can just turn them off or, we can change them around. So that looks pretty good. I do have a light here called Audience Backlight, which is this big area light here. That's kind of, you can see the blue, it's kind of shooting this way. So I'm going to tell that to include the audience so that it'll light it up here. And let's see what we get here. Let's just take a look and see. If we fire up the interactive renderer, it's thinking for a second here. This is the old preparing geometry. Yeah, this will take a second because, there's a lot of people there. Hey, look at that. We've got people. We've got people. So let's, maybe we want to pan down, move in. I haven't really like framed up a shot here, but you start to get, people are really dark here, but you can start to see kind of like what's going on here. Let's take our audience light up to 100 here and see if that makes a difference. Well, we're not here to make a beautiful rendering today, but you kind of get the idea of what's going on. So that's pretty swell. Let's go ahead here and kind of zoom back out. I'm going to stop you. Bye-bye. Thank you. And so now I'm going to go back here to my audience guide and turn this on for a sec. So you can even hide the cloner if you want. So now if I need to make adjustments, if my production designer comes back and says, we're not going to wrap the people around that much, like, okay, no problem. This is still like now just a polygon. Here, I'll turn this on so you can see. Let's lower the number though a little bit just so we don't hate to crash at this point in the tutorial. Let's put 500 people in here, but you'll be able to see in real time here, if I grab these points here and start to slide them, whoop, there you go. And maybe we want to grab the back end here and say, no, let's go a little bit deeper. And, or we can, let's see if I can really screw this up here. I think if we have the polygon pen here, yeah. So, maybe you can even add like another section back here. Whoa, look at that. Whoa, what happened? Oh, they're like way up in the air. That was so weird. I thought it made huge people. Yeah, all right, be warned. Here's what we need to do. I think we need to grab all of these and set them to 0. Oh, I've totally screwed it up. I knew this would happen. Here we go. Let's bring this down. You know what we're going to do? Let's get rid of this. Let's go back to top plan view because you should always do this in top plan view. But I didn't. Let's try this again here. We'll add in another kind of like chevron shape. There we go. Now, is this on the ground? Still not totally on the ground here, but it's all right. These people are on the first bleacher. Let's do this. Let's grab these points, pull them down. Look, it's like a magic carpet for a whole audience here. So there you go. We'll just zero this out. Right, so you have a lot of flexibility here with the audience guide, as long as you're not an idiot like me. And then, just be sure to bump your numbers back up here. So let's go to 3,000, boom. And there you go. You've got screaming, raging fans to fill in with all of your kind of good stuff going on there. All right, let's see here. Is this going to spit something out for us? It's pretty dark. Preparing geometry. Obviously the audience adds, a lot of polygons to the scene. So that's kind of why also I think using these low poly people is actually a good idea because, this is all we're really going to kind of see from them. What if we were to really like kind of, jam this up here? Yeah, the audience is red now. Yeah. So yeah, use the low poly people because if you start, using your really high end, you can kind of see the density on their topography here. If you start using really dense people, your computer may in fact implode. So, all right. I hope that's helpful, everybody. There you go. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the next tutorial.